Okay, and hopefully we have no blackouts. So first, we're going to, I'm hoping Rochelle got on. Rochelle, are you on yet? Or are you there in person?
She's not in person.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to pick on somebody then. Stephanie, will you, can you guys see my screen? Is my screen
Yes.
visible?
Yes.
I would like to, as we've always been starting the meetings by reading the mission of the Early Learning Board. I think it's also important to review the vision and restate it each time so that we know what we're working towards. So since Rochelle isn't on, Stephanie, can you read the vision and then read the mission?
Sure. Our vision is creating a sustainable early learning system that partners with families to ensure that every child is healthy, valued, and successful in school and life. And our mission is to support children's academic and lifelong well-being by directing and supporting the EOEL for an effective, coordinated, high-quality early learning system from prenatal to kindergarten entry.
Okay, thank you so much. I saw Rochelle came. Rochelle, I just had Stephanie read it. I'm going to get you another time, okay? Announcements. After this, I'm going to do the roll call, but I do need to have the agenda amended a little bit. So it'll be on the next slide. But let me do the roll call and then I will explain. So I'm learning a lot about running a state board and what needs to be done. So luckily people give me heads up. So every now and then somebody will remind me. So I really appreciate those reminders. But let me do the roll call of the board members. I know that Alana is not available. Howie Burgess. Can you say aye if you're here? Cheryl Hudiamat.
Here.
Thank you. Soma Gandhi.
Hi.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Here.
Thank you. Joni Onishi?
Here.
Thank you. Stephanie Tipton?
Aye.
And Dana Luca?
Here.
Rochelle Mahoy?
Present.
Phil, I know is out of town. Napua Rose Hill?
Aye.
Stephen Schatz? He said he might be a little late.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, thanks. And Keiko for Matt.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, and I see Yuko. Hi, Yuko. So, okay. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Come on. Okay. So after the agenda was approved and submitted, I realized that items need to be voted on by the board, and they're included in Yuko's report. And so the outcomes for section 4 of the agenda for Yuko's section should include vote. You know, we have at the bottom of the section, what are the outcomes for that section? So that should include vote. And the items that should be voted on are in the section titled EOEL Biennium Request and Legislative Proposals. And in addition, so each of those will have to be voted on. And in addition, the budget for EOEL as a whole needs to be voted on. So the chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to include vote in the outcomes for section 4 and add budget for EOEL to the list.
This is Joni. I move to amend the budget for those two items.
In the agenda, okay? You mean agenda, yeah?
Yeah, agenda, sorry.
Okay.
Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
Would you mind just for, I guess just for the public to know,
Yes.
what the requirement is around voting for changing the agenda?
Thank you. Yes, so for changing the agenda, we have to have 2/3 of the total number of seats on the voting seats on the board, which is 9. We have to include the vacant seat. We do have 1 vacant seat, but we need 2/3 of 9, so that is 6 votes. So we will need 6 aye votes to amend the agenda.
And how many voters do we have today?
Today we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So
Mahalo.
I don't have to vote unless it's to break a tie, but hopefully we can get 6 votes. Is there a second for that motion?
I will second to amend the agenda.
Okay. And Kawi, that's you, right? That's Kawi, right? I'm not
Myself,
seeing-
Chloe Burgess.
Okay, thank you.
And
You
then
know what, thank you. And can you guys do me a favor and identify yourself when you speak, whether you're there in person or online, just to make it easier for everybody. So thank you very much. Okay, so Kawi, second, thank you. And Joni. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Can someone call for the vote? Or can I
you can
just,
call for the vote.
I can just call for the vote. Thank you. This is me. I need lots of people to help me. So Kawi,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
thank you. Suma,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Okay, we have 6 I vote, so the agenda is amended. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that I don't have to do this too often, but I'm learning. Okay. Okay, so now it's the minutes. So we have to cancel last month's meeting. Sorry about that, but we do have the minutes from the July meeting. So can I get a motion? I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of July 11th, 2024.
Lindsay, I'll move to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Chloe Burgess, second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Elaine, this is Joni. Just your name is spelled differently throughout the
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't catch that.
Well, since that's being brought up, can we bring up, I think there were 2 others, but I can only remember Ka'ulani Laiha's name once again is misspelled. If we can correct that name.
Okay, so correct.
It's just Kaiu,
Mm-hmm.
Kaiu Lani, Lani. And then her last name is Laiha.
Laiha, yeah. Okina.
I can't, well, yeah, we can put the Okina
Okay.
between the
Lani
I and the A.
and Okina. Okay.
And
Okay,
I
so
can't
we'll
remember
correct.
the other name that was misspelled. I saw another name in the public,
Oh, okay.
but sorry about that. I was reading it last night and I didn't write it down.
Okay.
I can look at it.
Oh, Jordana, I think.
Oh, yes, it was. Yes.
Jordana. Okay. So we're going to correct some names, so just some spelling of names. And it'll be my name, Iulani Laeha, and Jordana Ferrero's name. Jordana's first name needs to be corrected. Are there any other corrections or edits? Okay, hearing none. We'll call for the vote for the minutes as amended with the corrected name. So, Kawi. Kawi, did you say something? Did you?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so can you vote? Sorry, I'm calling for the vote.
Oh, I seconded the vote,
Oh, you
but since I believe it was Joni that brought it up, I brought up spelling. It reminded me that I
right.
spelling.
And so you second it, and then
Yeah, so I apologize for seconding before I asked for the correction.
oh.
I had seconded and then I asked for a correction after. So with
But
these
that's okay.
corrections,
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
Yeah, with the corrections.
Mhm.
and I mean, and so I would move to approve the corrected
Minutes.
minutes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the corrected minutes. Can I get a second for that?
This is Joni, I second.
Okay, mahalo. Okay, now I'm going to call for the vote. Howie,
I
Cheryl,
Aye.
Suma,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Okay, mahalo, the minutes are passed. Okay, next thing. Oh, we have board member reports on the Build Quality Improvement Summit. And Dr. Soma Gandhi and I were able to attend that. So I've asked Soma to give a summary of her experience.
Thank you. I was excited to go to the Build conference in 2024. I went in 2023 and it was one of the best early learning conferences that I've been to, maybe close to in my career. And this one was focused on quality improvement systems coupled with the intentionality of having states come as a group so that there would be some cohesion and not just independent random folks from different places throughout the US. So I was grateful to attend with the team that's listed here on the slide. The goal was to learn about and share our own efforts to increase social, emotional, and early learning interactions, improve child learning outcomes and early educator well-being, and increase educator retention, all of the things that we discuss and we're working on. 45 states attended with over 350 attendees. I appreciated also the intentionality because they knew who was in each state group. And so on the first day, They made sure you weren't sitting with anyone from your state and that you were with different people from different states. So there was good cross-section of discussions that were taking place. Overall, I experienced a sensation that the kinds of opportunities and the things that I was interested or intrigued by, we probably have some decades of intentional scaffolding and strategy that need to take place before we could do some of these kinds of strategies. There were a couple of standout statements that came up for all of us. Children are born learning, so they're not born at the age of 5, usually when our education system starts checking in and supporting. And the other one was education is care and care is education. And care became more important for K-12 when COVID came into play. And how do we think about care from prenatal all the way through? There were a couple of the one main policy that I think, and that, you know, we've been thinking about and working on is just around universal early childhood education and family leave policies. And that I know has been a previous discussion in ELB as well as we've gone through legislative processes. And then a few other concepts that that came up was around opportunities exchange, like crafting an industry-based standard regarding what our supply is in terms of everything that we talk about, from seats in preschools to actually having the teachers to be in those rooms. So what I appreciated the concept of coming from the perspective of the audience of the mother or of the parent in real time, and what is it that they need to know from an access perspective, and how do you develop the data and the information exchange in that way. There was a focus on compensation, which we talk about like with subsidy programs, and also some examples of states that it didn't go well. So that's also good learning. And lastly, the concept around early relational health. So one of the examples was around the texting and using technology. And we have broadband challenges as well. So all of these things and these ideas are integrated with some other obstacles that we have in our state too. Elaine, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Hey, mahalo. Yes, it was really nice to be with the team, with Terry Lack and Dana Luca and Ian and Soma. And things, you know, it as I've taken on this role, which is a lot of work, but a lot of good thinking, it continued to be what I'm thinking about as we move this board and our system forward. And one of the things is about building on what so much just talked about, was about the family perspective, and really making sure that we are looking at things from the child and family perspective, and creating those feedback loops so that we know that I think qualitative data is a place where is something that we might need to pursue. We have quantitative data, and there was a session that Minnesota had on, well, they were part of a session, and they talked about their gathering stories initiative to get this qualitative data. It was really interesting. The other big idea that I've known about, but it was a good review and I want to introduce at the retreat, is systems thinking. And it made me think about how we should maybe look at our early learning system overall as really a system of systems. We have all of these entities, you know, on the board, our ex officio members, plus we have many, many entities in the community doing lots of this work. And they're all their separate systems. And how do we craft policies that will encourage an effective system of systems so that when a family is looking for something for their child, yes, they will know what the options are. They will know how much it is, or here are options for subsidies, and they'll have information that they need. So those are, again, it's Build is a great conference. It was the first one they focused on quality improvement. The last one I went to was probably, I think, 2017 or earlier. And yeah, this one is, I enjoyed it. I thank Soma for your great summary. And let me ask if there are any questions or comments from the public on this agenda item. Just as a reminder, comments have to be related to the agenda item and limited to 2 minutes. Are we seeing anything in chat? Nope, I don't see anything in chat, so I'm going to go on. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and give it over to our executive director, Yuko.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. The first part of our report is linked to the roadmap to achieve the objectives of Act 46 and Act 210. And so this is just a cover of that. Again, it was passed by the legislature in May of 2022 and transmitted to the board in June. This is the snapshots from the actual roadmap, and it talks about each of the action items. So the first part is action item number 1, addressing the workforce development and support. And so I'd like to have our workforce development specialist, Ian, will come up and share his update.
Good afternoon, Chair Yamashita and Early Learning Board. I'd like to present this update regarding our early childhood stipend program. This update reflects the information that we have regarding the program up until this past spring term. We know that the summer term has concluded and we are still finalizing the data from the summer term. So this is just for the spring until this spring 2024. So just to start off with, in terms of total number of recipients for this stipend program, since it began in the summer of 2023, there have been a total of 103 recipients. As we look at the growth of the program started off with 10 recipients in the summer term of last year, and we grew to 45 new recipients in the fall term, and then 48 new recipients in spring 2024. As we look across the UH system, participation in the stipend program has increased from 3% of early childhood students in summer 2023 to 17% in fall 2023. And at this past spring term, it was up to 29.1% of students enrolled in early childhood programs. Among the spring 2024 recipients, 42% were in community-based programs. This is regarding their employment. 42% were working in community-based programs, 32% worked in public early childhood settings, and by public, I also want to just kind of qualify that is UAL, public pre-K, DOE, special education preschools, as well as Head Start and Early Head Start, or Head Start, I should say. 32% worked in public ECE settings, and 24% were not yet employed in an ECE setting. And to date, as of spring 2024, there have been a total of 12 program completers. And by that, we mean that the recipients have completed their program and are beginning their work commitment portion, which is the 2-year work commitment. So we're in the process of actually I've completed the process of verifying their employment, and I'm happy to say that all 12 are currently employed in the system. The next slide, actually, so sorry, it's really small. I had to kind of cut and paste from the report, but this will just kind of show the breakdown across the campuses and also longitudinally from the start of our program in summer of 2023 until this past spring. We have kind of the numbers and figures there in regards to participation across campuses, as well as awards in terms of stipend funds.
Thank you. So the next part of the roadmap is action item number 2, facilities for early childhood education programs. So, we kept our slides for what we were going to be presenting in August, so I can give some updates on this. So, we did have some furniture delays. So some of these had furniture delays, but everything is in place now. And then Lanai, in terms of their facility renovation, Lanai was one site that came on board a little bit later. And so they have opted to have their renovation in December. Additionally, some things that we're working through right now include a recall on some of the flooring. So we're having to address some of the flooring pieces right now, and schools have determined when they want to address that. It's not a urgent need, but it just needs to be done in terms of warranty and the quality of the materials that we want to have in the classroom. And so some of those will be having their flooring replaced during the fall break. So we'll move out the furniture and then move it back in afterwards. The other thing I wanted to highlight was this was brought to my attention is that the Army is in process and they broke ground. The article is from April 24th of 2023, but it was something that was new to me. I did not know about this until recently, but the Army just broke ground and on 2 centers, one at Aliyah Manu and one that will be on Schofield. And together, these will create 676 childcare spots for military dependents. And so we're trying to seek a breakdown in terms of the ages of the children that will be served here. But both projects are being managed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and in Honolulu District. And I believe that one will be coming online in 2025 and the other will be coming up in 2026 right here. So Aliyah Manu 2025, Schofield in 2026. The next thing is funding for the early care and education mixed delivery system. And so Tara can come up here and share some updates for action item number 3.
Good afternoon, everybody. For action item number 3, the Preschool Open Doors program, there was an announcement made by Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke that Preschool Open Doors applications will now be accepted year-round. So, which is great. Let's see, Act 153 Session Laws of Hawaii 2024 signed into law on July 1st, 2024 establishes a year-round application period for eligible parents and guardians of 3- and 4-year-olds to receive financial assistance for group childcare or preschool. And the photo you see there was taken at a press conference a few months ago. Slide. And then we were also very excited to come together with Lieutenant Governor's Office and the Ready Keiki Initiative and Bowers and Kubota to do a joint press conference to announce our 44 new classrooms. So a big mahalo to Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke's office staff, Ready Keiki Partners, Bowers and Kubota, and the Hawaii Department of Education, and everyone who helped make this event very successful. Held this joint press conference at Jonah Kuhio Elementary School in one of our new pre-K classrooms. And it was a great opportunity for everybody to come together and showcase the hard work and dedication that we've been making for making pre-K available to all children.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to highlight that this photo also includes many of our pre-K team here. So our early learning state office educational specialist. We have our early learning state office teachers here and a lot of our other team members, like our Head Start collaboration directors in the photo. We also have our administrative services assistant, workforce development specialist. And so it was a really great celebration for everyone. Then for program quality improvement and maintenance, again, I was going to highlight about the builds, which you already received an update on. And so I'm going to move on beyond this. And then for health, mental health, and nutrition, if Mikako is online.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon,
perfect.
everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to thank the Hawaii Dental Service Foundation for their support. EOEL applied for an HDS Foundation grant and received $2,700 and 470 toothbrushes and 300 regular size toothpaste. With the support, we will be developing informational materials to promote oral health, and we'll be translating the materials into multiple languages. The toothbrush kits will be distributed through outreaches, and the informational materials will be distributed electronically and through outreach. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikako. I think one of the strengths of our team are the backgrounds that our team members had before they came to EOEL. So one thing great about Mikako is that she's a dentist. She's a dentist, and she is also a native Japanese speaker. So she cares deeply about oral health and health issues, and also being able to provide access to people who speak languages other than English. So thank you, Mikako. For our systems update, I wanted to welcome our new educational specialist, Caitlin Llewellyn. So Caitlin comes to us with a bachelor's in elementary ed, master's in early childhood special education. She's a professional development specialist. She's an early childhood consultant. She's an instructor at University of Nevada. And she even worked in Nevada's Department of Education, Office of Early Learning and Development. So Caitlin, are you online? And if you are, you can feel free to jump on and say hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So excited to join this amazing team. I'm seeing some familiar faces already here. I had the pleasure of working with Dana in a previous role, but feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions or wanted to connect with me, but really excited to learn alongside all of y'all.
Thank you, Caitlin. Next, I'd like to highlight our new, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it says educational specialist at the top. I apologize. I'll fix that as soon as I'm done with this, but he's our research statistician, Dr. Remy Pages. Remy is a Fulbright scholar. He just recently returned from Rwanda, where he was looking into the childcare infrastructure in Rwanda. He was also a DOE high school substitute, a research analyst at UH, a doctoral researcher, and a postdoctoral associate. So Remy, are you online? And if you are, feel free to jump on and say hello.
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Very glad to be here. And I'm looking forward to doing some great data analysis and hopefully informing the board and the policymakers on early childhood development. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been, we've been It's been really fun to be speaking with Remy as he's been meeting members of our team. He cares very, very deeply about data, and sometimes he needs to explain it to us because he's so knowledgeable about data and cares deeply, especially about early care and education, as that has been the topic of his focus of analyzing early care and education systems, not only in Rwanda, but in other places as well. So we're really grateful to have his thinking on our team, and we're very excited to have him with us. The next person that we'd like to welcome, gosh, everybody says educational specialist. I don't know why it says this, I apologize. She's our new office assistant, Jennifer Omori. Jennifer comes to us as a prior classroom teacher teaching 4- and 5-year-olds. She has her master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And she, in her free time, she's the dog mom, she likes artsy projects, and she even dances hula. So Jen, are you online? And if you are, feel free to jump on and say hello. No, yeah, okay, because you saw her. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so she's not with us, but we're very excited to have Jennifer a part of our pre-K team. We just had a shout out on our systems meeting group the other day from our educational specialist leaders, saying that she's been very consistent and has been a great addition to our pre-K team. So we're really happy to have Jennifer with us. I wanted to share about the Infant Early Childhood Mental Health Summit. This was encouraged. We were encouraged to attend from our preschool development grant. And so Erin, who was previously on our board from Aim High, Keiko from Department of Health, Deanne from Charter Schools, and Dana from Department of Human Services, all attended. And we were looking into the goals that were identified, such as professional development to increase access, skills, and knowledge of the early care and education workforce related to children's mental health. And also, how do we build these cross-agency systems? And one of the big questions that we were thinking about, or one thing that we're thinking about at the most foundational level, is what exactly is infant and early childhood mental health? And a lot of times people said when they mentioned that phrase, people think about infants and toddlers in chairs talking to like a psychologist or psychiatrist, and it's not that. And so how do we clearly articulate what is infant and early childhood mental health, and build that foundational level so that we can eventually get to the next levels of supporting everybody who supports these young children. And then we have Alohi online, who will give us our preschool open doors, our preschool development grants, PDGB 5 updates.
Aloha everyone. My name's Alohi. I'm a program specialist with the Executive Office on Early Learning. Going to give the update for the preschool development grant birth through 5, or the PDGB 5. I do just want to premise this update with the updates do come from a mix of entities. So if there is questions or anything, I'm happy to take them and back to our support team so that we can hopefully answer them at future meetings. The time frame around these updates are quarterly. So what I'll be sharing today is from the past quarter of our grant, and then we're hoping to follow a quarterly update schedule or around, which is the same as our federal update schedule. So the next update we're looking at probably October or November. So I just wanted to premise some of that as I share these updates.
Alohi.
Yes.
Can you turn your volume up a little bit? You're a little softer than the other speakers.
Okay. Maybe, do I need to speak up? I don't my microphone.
It was sounding like muffled. It was
sounding muffled.
Oh, that's better. That's better.
This is better. Okay. Just quickly to reiterate, quarterly updates. So this is from the last quarter of the grant, which was over the summer, and then we're looking at fall in October, November for our next updates. This does come from a mix of entities, being EOWL, a co-lead, along with 4EP20. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them at the end, but hopefully I can answer them at future meetings. with the support of our PDGB5 support team. So I'll go into updates now. As sounds like we're all good as far as audio. Okay. So overall, Yuko mentioned we got a team to go to the Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Summit that was hosted by the Administration for Children and Families. Our first activity, which is a comprehensive needs assessment, we are on our way with conducting the early childhood needs assessment, especially in the risk and reach. So, and the family preferences. So recruiting families for focus groups and surveys, recruiting providers for focus groups and surveys. So that's kind of the main task right now. So if you are someone that may have received an invitation from HCAN, Hawaii Children's Action Network, or WARD research, please, I highly encourage you all to answer them, and if you can be available to provide information for our needs assessment. We really appreciate that at our end. We are also, we're able to contract someone to conduct an early childhood data system feasibility study. So this will be a comprehensive report to present a feasibility case for a statewide cross-agency early childhood data reporting system. So that is to come, and looking forward to working with our vendors on that. Our second activity, which is to update and renew the early childhood state plan. We don't have any substantial updates for that now. However, we are looking at starting that next year or in the end of this year. So please be on the lookout for that. Next slide, please. For activity 3, this is all about parent and family engagement. So there's a few different tasks here. So I'm going to try to go through them quickly. We are moving forward with our Parent Leadership Institute, which is hosted by HCAN. Are partnering with Family Hui around the Embracing Your Journey. So that was completed this year for parent workshops. And we are planning a statewide media campaign and trying to align a media campaign between the state and the counties. So along with the county work with that media campaign, each county was awarded PDGB5 funds to do various family engagement activities. Each county does have its own take on some of these, on how they can use their funds, but it's mostly for, in general, family fairs, talk story sessions. There are also options to do their own strategic planning or needs assessment. And we are trying to see how we can better align statewide efforts and also local county efforts. There is 2 things I do want to share that you may have heard in the community that PDGB5 is able to support this year. October 10 and 11, and October 12th. So I start with the 10-11, that's actually the last bullet. Is DOE is hosting an early childhood conference. It's called Make a Joyful Noise. It has a focus on children with disabilities. However, it is open to the community. It is free to the public. So it is on October 10 and 11. If you are interested, we are, at this time when we made the slides, we didn't have the registration, but now it is up and running. So please look in one of the DOE memos or reach out to me if you are interested in attending. There is also on October 12th, the HAEYC annual conference. It is the theme this year is the sense of belonging through communities we create. There is a registration link there in the slides. You can go to that. There is a $50 fee. And we are have this year Sally Huey, I said her name correctly, as a keynote speaker this year at both events, really talking about family engagement and connecting family engagement in early childhood. So that's, please feel free to look into that and see how any of you, if you are interested in attending and might have any trouble in registering, please reach out to me or our office. For activity 3, I did want to bring up, there is one specific to ELB that we haven't been able to uplift yet, just due to the fact of the transition of ELB, but so I just wanted to share this information and hopefully the board can plan more around it and we can talk about this at future meetings or maybe in subcommittee as that gets uplifted. But there is an intent for within PDGB5 to uplift a parent council within the early learning board. And so we're hoping that we can attach some form of parent council with the help of ELB in support and design, and in establishing the purpose to see how we can establish a better two-way communication, and have parent representatives and voice within the ELB process. So I just wanted to highlight that. For 4 and 5 is the workforce and program quality improvement. There's ongoing work around the student ambassador program at UH, apprenticeships, compensation design team. Terry Locke at UH College of Ed is often attached to this work. So you might hear updates from her in various events. Our compensation design team has updated outcomes for the design plan. The apprenticeships did host that were presented at the annual conference that some of you board members attended early on this year. They also work around an infant toddler caregiver pathway, which is also highlighted at the symposium, and along with other things like the apprenticeship, workforce registry, system and mentoring coaching, etc. There's just so much work happening with the workforce, and PDG tries to support in aligning that, while also bringing on how lots of Terry work is connected with, or kind of brought forth through the ECE3 project that you may have been mentioned before. And so PDG is trying to figure out how we can support that, sustain that as the ECE3 project sunsets. How can we sustain that within PDGB5? So for lastly, we did initiate contracts for infant toddler contracts. So these are contracted classrooms for infant toddler care. So I hope to have more information on that at the next meeting, and as we were in the RFP process the last quarter. That is, I think, the last main update for now. That was a lot of information shared. There's a lot going on with PDG. Thank you.
Okay, so Chair Yamashita, did you want to kind of like draw a line here, because the next part will go on? Oh, one more. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I just looked again. I have to talk about Act 46. Sorry, one moment. And then we can, I'm wondering if we want to stop before we have to go to the portion where we take a vote. So maybe we can have some questions about this piece. So one moment, let me go there first. So, sorry, one last thing in our updates is that ELEL, Charter Schools, Hawaii Department of Education, Charter Schools Department of Education, Department of Human Services submitted our first joint report on Act 46. It was due at the end of August. And so if you're interested in reading the report, it is available on our ELEL website.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Yuko. I think maybe we should ask for any questions from the board, first from the board, about what you just heard, which is a lot of information. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. Aloha, alohi. Kau'i Burgess here. Wanted to ask you a question about the parent council. I really like that idea. And I wanted to check what that interaction looks like. How often is the engagement? Yeah, what does that look like? If you folks have an idea. I apologize, I have my granddaughter with me today.
No worries. She's welcome with me. Aloha. Good question. I would say at this point, it is very early. We can design that, but I would caution we can see how we can make it more parent friendly around work schedules. Sometimes maybe weekends are better. So maybe things after hours we might have to think about as far as hours of when the meeting's happening, as far as timeliness, or if it's quarterly, monthly. I think that's also to be determined as far as maybe we can look at capacity of the board, capacity of who may be facilitating or supporting, and then even the parents, I'm hoping might have some say in how often they might want to meet. So it is very in the beginning as far as designing. Me and Mikako have drafted and looked at different examples of what is out there. So I think it's a matter of just looking back at that and seeing what our options are to start with. I hope that helps.
Mahalo, Alohi. I have a follow-up question to what Kawi just was asking about. I'm with these parent councils, which I think also is a great idea. Would there be opportunity for stipends for their involvement and participation?
Yes, it is a hard question. We have to figure out the how. We did ask, though, within our PDGB 5 proposal for specific funds for stipends for participating members. We do have to figure out at least the logistics of what is needed, what's the language around that. That would be new for us as a government entity to compensate parents. But I think it's definitely an exciting path that we can research, and I hope we can really figure out together, because I think that is a crucial component to the framework of our parent council. So we did ask for that, and we do have intent for that.
Mahalo.
Alohi, mahalo Suma, and Alohi. I guess my question I'm gonna have to look into, because I don't know what the mechanism is, or whether we are able to, as the early learning board, have a council. So I'll look into that. And then related to Soma's question, one of the sessions I went to at Build talked about this question of stipends, and they had one entity a state entity had given grants to nonprofits, and then those nonprofits to engage parents gave gift cards. They found that gift cards were the easiest thing to distribute, and it was from the nonprofit. So that was just one mechanism that seemed to work, or one idea that came out of one of the sessions. So I just wanted to share that. But we'll be looking into how that would work and the most effective way to get family feedback. I appreciate you folks bringing that forward. Any other questions? Any other questions from the board? Yeah, I'll ask if anyone from the public has a question or a comment on this part of the agenda. Again, limited to 2 minutes. No, not seeing anything in the chat. We'll go on. So we'll go on to the next item. So we'll vote after each item, okay, Yuka? So let's do that housekeeping one first, right? Is that?
Sarah says there's a comment in the chat.
Okay.
This is Terry Locke. I have a comment. I was trying to figure out how to do the hand raising and wasn't quite successful with that. I have a comment regarding what Alohi shared. And she mentioned that I think this is what Alohi mentioned, was that the ECE3 project might be sunsetted. So that's not necessarily true. We're actually continuing with the PDG grant, and we're grateful for that. At some point, we are going to be working on some sustainability plan. We are beginning to work on a sustainability plan. So just wanted to correct that. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Anybody else? No? Okay, I'll give it back to Yuko.
Thank you. So these next pieces are legislative proposals at this time regarding budget and personnel requests, and also requests related to expansion action items number 2 and number 3. So some of these are housekeeping, and so I'll kind of just talk through them. So this was brought to our attention that Section 302L10 was originally established related to the Early Childhood Educator Stipend Program. And it was a way to have any unencumbered. So actually, let me back up. So what happened is that a portion of this was abolished and it was repealed, but it's still sitting in EOEL statute. And so to clear this up, the recommendation is for EOEL to propose legislation to formally repeal the section of 302L10 that's sitting on in our statute. And so you can take a look at this. So section 10 of Act 210, provided this, our special fund shall be abolished. This portion shall be abolished and repealed on June 30th, 2023. But it was not done. And so we are being asked to propose legislation to formally repeal section 302L10. So that's the first legislative proposal. It's just the cleanup piece. The second is to amend.
Well, Yuko, why don't we do it one at a time? So why don't we do this one first, and then we'll go on to the next one, and we'll vote on supporting this, and then go to the next proposal. So the chair will entertain a motion to support this legislative action.
This is Joni.
Okay.
I move to support that the board support this action.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Stephanie. I can second.
Great, mahalo. Okay, now we can open it for discussion. Any discussion? Any questions from the board?
Yuko, did you check if there was any other way to just get this done through a process versus going through legislation again?
Yes, so this was actually, this was in conversation with our attorney generals. Yes, this is in conversation with our attorney generals that this is the best way for EOEL to proceed with this.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I will call for the vote to support this. It's basically a housekeeping proposal to clean up the statute. Kawi.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Okay.
Cheryl.
Aye. Yes.
Great. Mahalo. Soma.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Joni.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Hey, mahalo, the motion passes. Okay, we
Thank
can go on
you.
to the next one.
Thank you. Second one is legislation to amend section 302L1.6, which is actually the composition of the Early Learning Board. So at the beginning of this year, I received a letter from Director Kari Garvin of Head Start. And as I was reading through it, it was talking about the role of the Head Start Collaboration Director on the State Advisory Council. And so I'll take everybody through this so that we can see where we are today. So in 2011, Then Governor Neil Abercrombie declared the Early Learning Council as the state advisory council. And this is directly connected to the Head Start Act. Then in 2012, EOEL was formed and the Early Learning Council was replaced by the Early Learning Advisory Board. And then in 2017, the Early Learning Advisory Board was redesignated as the Early Learning Board. So it's the same original entity that kind of transitioned through the years. So the Early Learning Board assumed the State Advisory Council role designated to the Early Learning Council in April 2011. So as such, the Early Learning Board requires this amendment to this to be in compliance with the Head Start Act. And so the Head Start Act lists who should be members of the State Advisory Council. And so you can see that everybody is represented by the current composition of the board, with the exception of the director of the Head Start Collaboration Office. And so this also talks about the state advisory's roles and responsibilities. So you can look at this about statewide needs assessment, coordination among federally funded and state funded services, recommendations for increasing participation in early education programs, recommendations on data collection systems, statewide professional development and career advancement plans, the capacity and effectiveness of 2- and 4-year public-private institutions of higher education, and also recommendations and improvements for the state early learning standards. And so this goes on to detail a little more. So this was new learning to me because I did not know that this is created from the Head Start Act. And so what we are asking is, can we propose legislation to amend 302L1.6, which is the composition of the Early Learning Board, to include the Head Start Collaboration Director? And so I also asked for a clarification on the Head Start Collaboration Office Director's role on the board, because that person is also my employee. And so when the early learning, when the Head Start Collaboration Office Director comes onto the board, they will be in a non-voting capacity.
So there'll be an ex officio member like the other non-voting members.
Yes.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to support the proposal to add the Head Start collaboration
I have a
person.
question, Yuko. So
Let's do the motion, and or no, we can ask questions first, yeah, and then get a motion.
yeah,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
just have a question about the role of the Head Start. What are the director of the collaboration? I mean, I do like the idea. I just wonder, is that so their purpose then for being on their early learning board would be to provide input versus voting, right? And you feel that that role is sufficient, that role, I mean, regardless of, if this person wasn't going to be, I'm sorry, if this person wasn't reporting to you, right? My question is, would this be a non-voting member? Would that be the best role of this person on the board? I'm just wondering. Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's the best. And now as I'm talking through it, I'm thinking, yes, it's still okay. What are your thoughts on that? if this person wasn't if this person wasn't reporting to you, I just wonder, it just seems like we are going to vote for them to be a non-voting member because they report to you. But I'm wondering, is that the best role for this person, regardless of whether they reported to you or not?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So in different states, where their Head Start Collaboration Office Director sits is different. In our state, it just so happens to sit in EOEL, which is governed by the state's advisory council, which is the board. And so in conversation with the Attorney General, because it is my employee, they would be an ex officio member due to the composition and where the Head Start Collaboration Office sits at this time. So they can be a board member to provide input and perspective.
Okay, thank you so much, Yuko.
Yuko, this is Joni. I have a question. I'm just trying to clarify. Okay, so the State Advisory Council is no longer in existence.
Yes, it has morphed over the
Okay.
years.
Yeah, it has
To the
evolved over the
ELB.
years. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll move to accept.
Oh, sorry, this is Stephanie. I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Did this come up at all during session? In any of the comments or the testimony in particular from Head Start?
No, it didn't. It didn't. And I was personally, I did not know the origins going all the way back to 2011 about the morphing of this. And so when I got the letter, I was a little surprised. So I reached out to some folks to try to get clarification on what exactly is it saying. And then I had to find out who is the advisory council in Hawaii, who is this? And then in consultation with our attorney generals, I was told the morphing and the transition of the state advisory council to becoming the early learning board.
Do you foresee any problems? So what are the, I think the benefits of this seem clear, right? It puts us into compliance federally. What are potential challenges or problems that you think might come up during session?
In terms of adding this person onto the early learning board?
Yeah, of moving this legislation through session and then I guess through implementation too. What if any challenges or opposition we might want to be aware of now?
Yeah, so thank you for that. So one of the things that I was thinking about is I was wondering about the way the board was previously set up and the different role groups that were there. However, when I look at who the State Advisory Council shall include, it actually includes everybody who actually sits on the board right now, minus the Head Start Collaboration Director. So there's two things. Number one, again, the compliance piece, and that state advisory councils were actually created from the Head Start Act. So that's one of the compliance pieces. But the other part is that would anybody think that they are not being represented? I would go back to this piece right here that would add the CLAP director onto the state's advisory council and still say that the council composition is still complete. So that's what I'm thinking. But if you're thinking something else or you can foresee something else, I would like to hear about that too.
Any
Chair
other questions?
Yamashita? Yes, I
Yes,
do have
yes, go ahead.
so this is Keiko from Department of Health, and I'm sorry, my Matt is not able to attend, and he is the part of the governance subcommittee chair. And so part of the challenge might be that as a voting member, the Head Start collaboration person, director, would be making recommendations or part of that discussion on evaluating the executive director. So that is partly the reasons why the ex officio members, we don't really need to, that might be awkward for an employee to have to be part of that evaluation of their director or their supervisor. So that just might be a question that the early learning board might need to research as well. Could they just abstain from that conversation, or I'm not sure.
And so thank you, Keiko, for bringing that up. And that is why it was recommended that they join as an ex officio member.
Any other questions from the board?
Sorry, I just want to make sure I understand it, even though I am an ex officio member with the voting. So it's required that we have this state advisory council. And so reinstating the Head Start person as part of the ELB allows us to comply with the federal requirements. Is that correct so far?
Yes.
And by
Yes.
having them as ex officio, we don't get crossed wires in terms of the authority of that person while still enabling them to collaborate. Am I correct so far? And then the other
Yes.
part would be, the composition of the board just changed statutorily. So there's a little bit of me worries that you're opening it up again for what are the other stakeholders that get to be part of the board. But I think your answer is no, there's a specific reason we're doing this, and that is to comply with this federal requirement. I'm doing that. I'm saying this all out loud to just make sure I understand the rationale.
Yes, that is how I was thinking about it.
Thanks.
Yuko, I have one more question. I'm looking at the language where it says to the maximum extent possible. Has anybody been in touch with sort of the federal Head Start program officers to determine like what would we need to demonstrate as good faith effort around that particular language? Because it doesn't say must, period. It creates sort of that loophole. I do wonder, I think there was a lot of contention around changing the structure of the board in statute. And so, even though we're coming in with this very clear sort of scalpel approach, it does still open up the whole statute.
So when I was trying to get clarification from the region and also the national office, they told me that the person must be on the state advisory council. And so that is why I chose to move forward with this, because that was what they had shared with me. And so I guess I bring it to the board.
I'm trying to figure out procedurally how I do this. We don't have a motion yet. People are still asking questions. There is a comment in chat from Chris Jackson saying that she has a comment. And I'm trying to figure out if we need to vote first. Well, get a motion and second discussion vote. And then I can open it to public comments. Correct? Anybody have, that is what I'm thinking I have to do. Anybody have a different opinion, or does that make sense? Okay, so I will, because Chris is a member of the public, we will have a motion, second, discussion, vote, and then I can open it to comments from the public. So the chair will entertain a motion around this
Wait,
legislative.
sorry,
Yes.
Elaine, are we as board members allowed, if we know somebody is in the audience, are we allowed to ask that person in particular to come up and provide additional information, or no? Not on a vote, just on it, if we're just talking about something for informational purposes.
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer. And does anybody know that my attorney general is not in on this meeting today, so I can't ask him.
This is Steve Schatz. I do not
Sure.
think, I do not think that I think the board needs to have the conversation and the public needs to participate via public testimony. That's my understanding. But I'm not the
Okay.
attorney general, so take it for what it's worth.
I appreciate that, because I do think that we have to, yeah, this is a challenge of sunshine law and state board, because I'm so used to having people be able to comment and getting information, and we just have these kind of strict rules, and we're being recorded. So, you know, I have to make sure that I'm following the rules. So I will go with what I originally said. We'll entertain a motion, get a second, discussion, vote, and then comments from the public. And you know what? The other option is previous to a meeting. So this is for everybody in the public. If you look closely on all the, here's a Zoom, blah, 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 blah. There's always information about how you can request to do testimony on an agenda item. So that is an option if you want to speak on an agenda item. The request would come to me, and then I would determine whether that person can speak during that discussion or not. Okay, so I think that is how we get around this, or how we get some input, but it has to be ahead of time. So that's why we post the agenda ahead of time so people can check it out. There is a board meeting materials website, page on the EOEL website. So it has all these meeting materials on it so that you can, before the meeting, be aware of what is coming up for discussion. Okay, so having said that, the chair will entertain a motion. Yuko, can you share your screen again about with that legislation?
I'm not sure which slide you want.
Yeah, yeah.
How about this one or this
Yeah.
one? Maybe.
Just so we have the, at least for the minutes, we can say supporting legislation to amend section 302L 1.6, which would add the Head Start collaboration office person.
Okay.
Actually, Yuko, can you provide the
Okay.
language that we?
Can you guys hear me?
On?
Okay.
Elaine,
Can I get a motion?
Elaine, this is Cody.
Or
I wanted to ask if
I will
Yuko
entertain
doesn't
a
mind
motion.
providing the language.
Informal.
Yuko, Elaine, can we ask Yuko to provide the language that we can vote on?
It's not hearing, anyone move to accept this, it may be that we need more time to deliberate and talk about this.
Elaine, can you hear me? Elaine?
Before approving this as a legislative proposal.
I don't think she hears you, Kawi.
Okay.
Elaine, Kawi is trying to say
Kawi?
say something.
Did you want
Elaine,
to?
can you hear me? Elaine?
Did you want to say something, Kawi?
Can you hear me, Elaine?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Elaine, can you hear Kawi?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Kawi.
But you folks can all hear me. Yuko, can you hear me?
Can anybody hear her?
We can hear you.
Oh,
Apparently-
Stephanie
Yeah.
can. It's just me that cannot hear.
Elaine, can you hear
Can
me?
you guys hear me? You can hear me.
I can hear you. Okay, Yuko, would you mind providing language that we can vote on? Because I believe you used another word and I can't remember what word you used. Or reinstate, or I can't remember the exact word you used for this director of collaborations at Head Start. Was it reinstate? If we can just use the terminology, that type of terminology to bridge back to the fact that they're supposed to already be on the board, but somehow they dropped off throughout the years during the transition of the council to a board or advisory board to a board.
Sure, one moment. Let me one moment.
So Kawi, you're suggesting that there be some changes to the proposed legislation. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I have down is to amend, is what I used to amend the subsection B to read as follows. The board shall consist of the following voting members, and it includes everything as is. And then, and Head Start State Collaboration Office Director shall serve as ex officio non-voting member of the.
Okay. I'll move for that. I mean, it would be great to have it just in one sentence, Yuko. So moving to amend, was it section, what was it? Section 3, 1.6B? I'm sorry, I can't.
302L, yeah, 1.6B, yes.
302L 1.6B to include or to what's the word you used? Reinstate?
I just said to amend to, I didn't say reinstate. I was not saying reinstating. I just said to amend to include.
Can you
Go
put
ahead,
it in the chat? So we can just read it off the chat.
Yeah, and Dana has her hand raised, so after we clarify this section, then Dana would like to say something.
Sorry, I did not create like what to say to have the board vote on, so 1 moment.
While you're working on that, maybe let me ask Dana. Dana, you have a comment?
Yeah, since there seems to be some confusion with SAC and ELB, do you think maybe we should table this for another discussion, or maybe like EOEL can discuss with DHS? Because there is also some thought that the DHS Child Care Advisory Committee is the SAC, just because the ELB is now a governing board and not an advisory board. So I think like
Oh,
maybe
okay.
getting some clarification first before we, before there's a motion to vote
Support
on
the
the
rate.
amendment. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I didn't realize that the advisory board was considered, or some people consider it, or Head Start collab. I mean, Head Start office.
The SAC.
Well, that's what we need to
yeah.
clarify. Yeah. Okay. So, sounds like there needs to be more
That's very-
discussion.
I think that that's fascinating. I would love to like figure out if the Child Care Advisory Committee is the state's advisory committee. I would love
Council,
to.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So let's. I think, as Dana said, we should table this for now because we do need to get some clarification and discussion on this issue. So thank you, everybody. So so here's another question for my Robert's Rules people. Do I need to entertain a motion to table this proposal?
Yes.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to table this proposal until the October meeting.
I'll move to entertain, excuse me, I'll move to table this discussion until October.
Can I get a second?
This is Joni. I'll second.
Right. Mahalo. Any other discussion? Okay, so we are voting to table this until next month. And in the meantime, EOEL and DHS will have those discussions. So Kawi,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Soma,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Okay. Mahalo. So we have tabled that until October. Woohoo. Okay. Next time.
Elaine, do you
Yes.
want to allow the community member to testify on
Oh.
the discussion that we were having?
Thank you. Yes. Chris has a comment. Chris Jackson has a comment. Thank you for the reminder.
Hi, thanks. So I was only wanting to provide a little bit of historical context about this issue. And so Yuko is correct in that the original legislation in the Head Start Act did require the Head Start Collab director to be a member of the entity, of the body. And so when I was in that position, I actually was a member of the Early Learning Council, as it was set up to be the State Advisory Council on Early Education for Hawaii. However, when through the different morphing and iterations of this entity, it moved from an Early Learning Council to an Early Learning Advisory Council, and then to the Early Learning Board. At that point, it became a governing entity, not just an advisory entity. And when it became a governing entity, it was governing EOEL. Because the Head Start Collab office director is a staff of the EOEL, it was deemed inappropriate to continue to serve as a member on the Early Learning Board. And that's why I had to step off. In other states, the Early Learning Council or Early Learning Advisory Council, however they name themselves, it's not governing any entity in which the collab director sits. That's why they do require the collab director to be a member of that entity. So that's why it's a little bit strange in our state, because ELB was deemed as the advisory council for our early care and education system. And it was a governing body to the EOEL where the collab office position is situated. So that's why it's a little bit confusing. And I think the conversation or the issue that Dana brought up about the Child Care Advisory Committee, being deemed the state early childhood care and education advisory group. I think that conversation would need to be had with YUCO and possibly even with you, Elaine, as the ELB chair, because the ELB was always meant to serve in that capacity when it was first set up. So anyway, I just wanted to provide some food for thought and some historical context why the current collab director is not a member of the board. Thanks.
Okay, mahalo, Chris. Okay. Oh, we are going way behind. Okay, we gotta rush. No, but the budget is very important. So Yuko, I would why don't we, it's 3 o'clock. Let us take a 10-minute break and come back at 3:10, and we are going to pick up on Yuko's report, okay? And do the budget proposals. Everyone has been sent Yuko's slides, so you can look ahead at what she is going to talk about. Okay, break, 10 minutes. And this is about the budget proposals, correct? Okay, go ahead, Yuko, you can.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. So, what I'm going to be proposing is our legislative requests and our budget proposals for this upcoming legislative biennium. So this first thing here I wanted to show you is that EOEL is attached to the Department of Education. So we do, for the most part, follow the Department of Education's budget cycle. So you can see they have terms that we do not use in EOEL and the Early Learning Board. But you can see generally how we're following along the timeline. So sometimes some things are expedited just a little bit for attached agencies because it has to feed into the Department of Education, which feeds into the higher system. So this is what we're working with. There is an EOEL specific one that Chair asked me to insert. So it looks like this. And so here we are in September. And where it says approved priorities submitted to governor. And so basically we work with governor's office, but feed to the Department of Education and to submit as a part of their whole piece. And just so people understand where we are, because the August meeting was canceled, we asked for an extension because we were asked for whatever is approved have been submitted earlier this week. So just so you understand where EOEL is right now at this time. So our office personnel wise, so again, we have 2 main parts of our office. One of them supports the system. The other one supports our public pre-K program. So our personnel promotes learning to families and the communities. We look at maximizing engagement. We look at looking at contracts and procurement and expand the early learning options for pre-K in Hawaii. And so that is the composition. We've got agency staff, we've got state office teachers, public pre-K teachers, public pre-K education assistants. So we have, when we say agency staff, those are the people who are committed to the whole system. Then we have our state office and a pre-K team that's committed to pre-K, and then we have everybody who's sitting down at the school level. And so in our office, we look like this. So we are administratively attached to Department of Education. So you can see the Early Learning Board, and then it comes down to the director. So previously, the line that you can see on the right side was very short. That was the systems piece. And then the pre-K team was really, really long. But as we are expanding now, the pre-K team becomes wide, and then we get a little depth chart going on in the office. And so when you look at the pre-K side, you can see that we have added some educational specialists and teachers to support the coaching mentoring of the new expanded EOEL public pre-K. But as we're filling our educational specialist positions, the expectation is that they will, what I call like lift your head a little bit to look at the broader system, to look at how do we support other things like professional development across the whole system and other things that can increase ongoing professional growth and learning. So this is our current organizational chart. So this is our current base budget. So should nothing change, this is what will move forward at the beginning of next year. So you can see how the pre-K program is the bulk of the budget. And then we have our general funds that supports our office. We also have federal funding for Head Start. That early learning special fund is just the ceiling. We don't have $3 million in there. But things like Nikako's dental health outreach went into the early learning special fund. And then also the federal positions for the PDGB5 grant. So we have 2 positions sitting in there. So this is what makes up EOEL's current budget. And so this is what we're looking forward to over the next 2 years, looking at the biennium. We'd like to add 25 new classrooms at the beginning of fiscal year 26, 25 new classrooms at the beginning, school year, I don't want to talk in fiscal year, sorry. So we want to add 25 classrooms at the start of next school year and 25 classrooms at the start of the following school year. So a total of 50. And this is all towards trying to hit our goal. So at the end of this biennium, we will be in 2027. And so Act 46 says that by 2027, we will have created enough seats to meet 50% of the currently unserved portion of the population. And so ELBL requesting this is not going to actually get us to that 50%, but it's our portion that we can chip in to the whole to see how we can get towards that 50%, meeting 50% of the currently unserved. So opening up these classrooms required 25 teachers and 25 educational assistants. We would also need the state office teachers that are going to be accompanying these new educators in the classroom for coaching, mentoring, professional development, and support. And we fund furniture, induction costs, and the operational costs to school. The other thing that we'd like to do is to expand our FCIL, Family Child Interaction Learning Program. So we do want to support families. So there's we have folks that are working and need to take their children someplace. And then we also have other families who are able to care for their children. And so what we'd like to do is also support people who are able to be with their child in a Family Child Interaction Learning Program. And so what we'd like to do is open up 4 new FCIL locations. So currently EOEL is supporting 2 FCIL programs. We already have the capacity to support 2 more. Originally, we were hoping to have 4 this school year, but at the last minute, 2 of the sites, early childhood SPED populations bloomed, and so they no longer had the space available. So that is why we were only able to open 2 this year. But we could potentially support 8 with these 4 new FCIL classrooms. And so here's what it would look like with pre-K plus the FCIL expansion. And so you can see fiscal year 26 in terms of the FCIL contracts, equipment, operation, and personnel. And then you can also see the same for fiscal year 27, which is accumulation of everything that we currently have plus 26. And so it would change our base. So it would change.
Yeah, go ahead, Yuko.
So it would change to look like this. So if the board does approve and if this did pass, it would look like this for our pre-K programming, our general funds, Head Start would still be there, we'd still have our ceiling, and our PDGB5 positions. And then the following year, adding the positions, our pre-K program, gen ed funds, general funds, Head Start, our ceiling, and our PDGB5. Okay.
Okay, so can you go back to the pre-K expansion? We'll vote on pre-K expansion first, then we'll do the FCIL awards. And then we will do fiscal year 26 budget approval. Fiscal year 27 will approve as, and of course it'll come back up next year for any amendments. But that's what I propose that we vote on. So Yuko has a slide up for the public pre-K expansion. I do want to say that the Act 46 report that EOEL and DHS submitted to the legislature has a lot of numbers and interesting information. So we've lost a lot of our programs and classrooms as a whole because of COVID and everything else. And the EOEL classrooms have mitigated that loss, but they will never be able to completely fill the needs. So anyway, I just want to make sure that if you're interested, go look at that report because he did a good job on that report. We need to have a motion on the floor and seconded, and then we can discuss. So I will entertain a motion about this budget request for the pre-K program expansion.
Elaine, is the motion to move to approve the budget request?
Should it be support or approve? I guess approve. It should be approved because that the board approves the request.
I'll move.
Okay, how we move? Do I have a second?
This is Stephanie, I'll second.
Okay, mahalo. Discussion, questions?
I'm supportive of it, even though I'm not voting, but I I would like this, maybe this exists and I haven't seen it recently, but I would be interested in knowing where these classrooms are targeted to be stood up. A map, like actually a visible, oh yeah, are you about to do that? Oh, but a map would be really useful.
So thank you for that question. So right now, these rooms have not yet been fully decided yet. We do have lists of schools that are interested. But again, because these rooms are coming also with facility renovations, we have to work in tandem with the Department of Education and School Facilities Authority. But we are analyzing data such as opportunity, access, work locations, traffic flow, those types of things. I think that I know definitely we can get it to the board if they approve this.
Yeah, that's very helpful. If you could just keep us apprised as that, I understand that you got to collaborate with folks in order to make those final decisions, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who's curious where we're going to end up. And I'm not trying to hold up today's discussion. I just think eventually that'd be good information for us to know.
Of course.
Thank you,
I
Steve.
have a question.
Go ahead.
Who should go?
Who's
Chair? Cheryl Kuyamat. I have a quick question, comment for Yuko. Okay, sure. Okay. I'm just wondering if you have data for vacancies for the community-based preschools, and if that's taken into consideration. I do know there are vacancies at community-based preschools, so I would hope that we are working together to hopefully fill them first versus, you know what I mean, opening classrooms. we should try to work with our community-based preschools.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much for that. So we definitely are. So one of the things that EOEL is able to track right now is the data that Patch provides. So we know it's only live month to month, but we've created our own internal system to try to track longitudinally. And now that we have Remy on board, he's actually interested in taking a deeper dive into trying to see longer patterns from like back in 2014, but we would have to be able to acquire the data on openings and closings and seats and reported filling to be able for him to be able to draw those types of conclusions so that we can actually see historically over time what impact EOEL pre-Ks have had on the whole early learning system. But we are working on trying to get those data pieces in-house so that he can start to analyze it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? So hearing none, we're voting to approve the pre-K expansion request that EOEL is going to be pursuing from the legislature. Kawi,
Aye, yes.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Soma,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Mahalo. That's approved. So let's go on to the budget request for FCIL expansion. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request.
And this is for 2026 for right now? Or did you say?
Yeah,
both?
so we'd like to, so what it looks like is like, we would like to have, so we are requesting 4 new FCIL locations, but what it looks like is the 8,000 and 8,000 because it's 200,000 per award. So we would need them both years of biennium. So so it's for 26. And then we would also request it again for 27 for continuity.
Got it. Okay, okay. I'll move to approve the request for 26, 27.
Hey, mahalo. Do you have
This
a
is
second?
Joni, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion, questions? Okay, after, I forgot to ask for comments on the pre-K expansion from the public, but we'll do this vote and then I'll go back and ask for any comments from the public on these 2 items. Kawi,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Soma,
Aye.
Lindsay, Lindsay?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Okay, mahalo. Okay, I will open it to the public for any comment or question on the last 2 items on these 2 budget requests. Okay. Seeing nothing in chat, let's go on to fiscal year 26 budget approval.
Yes, okay.
I have a question around this one. I see on our agenda that we are considering a proposed salary adjustment for the EOEL executive director. Is that something that needs to be, would need to be included as part of this? And then a second question is, Has there been any consideration to potential board costs? I'm thinking specifically about travel costs for Neighbor Island board members, and whether or not that's included in the budget.
So we would be able to cover both of those with our general funds.
So we do have enough in the budget. We didn't get a motion yet. Did you want to say anything else about the budget? The fiscal year 26 budget first, Yuko?
No, so this is this representation here is our base budget plus the requests that were just voted on. And so again, you can see, thank you for the question, Stephanie, though. We have been able to shift. Well, actually, so what we've been really working on is looking at how do we serve more schools and not drive our costs up exponentially high. And so through the help of our new secretary, Esther, the work of our pre-K team and our business management officer, we've been able to find some really amazing meeting spaces that don't cost a lot of money. And so we've also been looking at how do we provide other types of, transportation and things. And I think that our team has done like a really good job in terms of looking at what are we currently spending on and how can we shift some of those costs around so that we can continue to meet the needs and also build out and develop new things such as our online application. And so we are able to work with the budget as it is right now.
Okay, mahalo. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 26 budget base and request.
Lindsay, I'll move to approve the fiscal year 26 budget.
Okay, mahalo. There's a second?
This is still my second.
Mahalo. Okay, any questions, discussion? Okay, not hearing any, I will be asking for the vote. Let's go from the bottom up because I keep having Kawi first. How about Stephanie?
Aye, yes.
Joni?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Zoma?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Kawi?
Aye.
Mahalo. Okay, we'll go on to fiscal year 27 budget. So anything you want to add, or it's basically the same? Okay, nothing to add. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move to the budget for 2027. Budget request.
Mahalo. And a second?
This is Joni, I second.
Mahalo. Okay, we have it moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Okay, I'm going in the reverse, just making sure you're awake, okay? Stephanie?
Aye.
Joni?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Soma?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Kawi?
Aye.
Okay, and then I will ask the public if anybody has a comment or question about the fiscal year 26 or 27 budget. Okay, hearing none, we are going to go on. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm giving it to Stephen. Steve. Steve, let me know if you want me to put the
Sure.
memo up.
So, hi, everyone. So our finance subcommittee met to discuss a potential, well, two things. One is a potential salary adjustment for EOEL director Yuko Arikawa. And then the second one was a conversation around how we would handle salary adjustments potentially going forward. I do not know if the memo got posted or shared.
Sorry. Let me put it
I think
up.
maybe Elaine can share it now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we have time to take action on it anyway, so maybe I'll try and describe the rationale behind this memo. So I'm sure some of you are aware, but the EOEL director position is an appointed one. Yuko is not in a union, and so any salary adjustments have to be approved by her governing body, which is the board. It's very similar to the president of the university, for whom the UH Board of Regents is the governing body, and the superintendent of schools, for whom the Board of Education is the governing body. In those cases, for their excluded employees, their non-union employees, the board has to take an action to approve any kind of a raise. In both the BOE and the BOR's case, they have established processes, slightly different, but kind of similar, for proposing raises for their respective executives that are based, at least in part, on performance. In Yuko's case, she's been here for, I believe, 2 years now, and has not received any salary adjustments since she was appointed to the position. We did not do a formal evaluation as a board of Yuko. But at the same time, the committee's belief is that in order to, both for Yuko in her current position, but also just as a matter of keeping up with the cost of living and commensurate raises for educational leaders throughout the state, we're proposing a salary adjustment that parallels the Hawaii Government Employee Association Unit 6. So Unit 6 is the educational officers within the Department of Education, meaning the principals, the vice principals, and other administrators, also known as educational officers within the Department of Education. We feel like it is reasonable for us as a board to do a salary adjustment, not based on performance, either positive or negative, just a salary adjustment to keep up for Yuko in this position that is parallel to what the Unit 6 members got through their collective bargaining agreement. So that's the logic that we have here. And our proposal, again, as you see in the memo, it's twofold. The first is a proposal for a salary adjustment that parallels the raises of the HGA Unit 6. So it keeps pace with the economy and the salaries of educational leaders throughout the state. And then the second would be to establish a process. So that would be the first thing for us to discuss, and that one actually would require action. The second part would be to establish a process through which the ED would be evaluated on an annual basis, and through which any salary adjustments would be informed, at least in part, by said performance evaluation. So we're trying to break this into two. One is to kind of just make up for the fact that there has been no salary adjustment since Yuko has come on the job. And then the second is to establish a process through which we do this going forward for the executive director. And we could do that through creating an ad hoc committee, or we could do it through the governance committee. But the first part of the twofold proposal in the memo would be to approve an adjusted annual salary of from what her current salary is, which is 125,000 to 141,145. So I'm not sure if we have time for, sort of sufficient dialogue and then decision making, but I maybe we'll start with just making sure that everybody understands what the committee's recommendation is.
Thank you. And I think that Howie had a comment.
No, I did not have a comment.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
Okay. And there is a late question in the chat related to an earlier agenda item. So I will look at that. Rochelle has.
I also put a comment in the chat regarding, while I'm not a voting member, that we should consider the number of EOE classrooms that are this expansion that we just went over the budget for, and the preschool program across the states are expanding. That's under UCO's responsibilities. So that's increasing, it's probably doubled since you started. So we should just consider that too. So I was just in favor of the adjustment.
Thank you.
Is now a time for questions, or do you want us to do a motion first?
Well, I'm looking at the time for our meeting. We have 20 more minutes. We really do need to vote on the travel policy and the annual schedule for the ED eval. Because I did not, I have this memo in board materials. If you go to the EOEL website, there's a early learning board meeting materials section, and we have a lot of materials there. So, but I did not email this memo to the board. And in light of that, and in case we need more discussion, the chair will entertain a motion to table this until the next meeting if you folks feel we need more discussion.
I'm supportive of an increase. I'm curious about the data points that were used to land a number. I'm actually wondering if the number is too low. So would like to see, for example, the nonprofit salary bands that were compared, and then also the similar state level positions, that what their salaries are and scopes of responsibility, but I'm supportive of an increase.
Okay, so those are great questions, and we do have that material. So I think we do need more discussion and background on this. So again, I will entertain a motion to table this until October. And
Elaine, I just want to make sure, is everybody, I sort of want to make sure everybody understands the logic behind it, right? This current one is not asking for any retroactive pay. I think it was a good question that Stephanie asked about the budget, whether EOEL could handle. That's always a good question to ask if the salary adjustment were to be in place. I just want to make sure everybody understands. I want to basically make sure everybody believes my memo is clear enough.
So Steve, this is Joni. So when is the effective date that your committee was thinking?
I think it would depend on, I mean, if we were voting today, I think we would try and execute it right after that.
yeah, if it was today, it would be October 1st.
But that's also a discussion point, right? Like in these cases, you can, you could make an argument for October 1st or retro to July 1st. or what, I mean, you can do anything you want, assuming you can afford it.
Okay, this is Joni. I move to table this discussion and the vote.
Thank you. Joni has moved to table. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Stephanie.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I don't have a
Discussion?
question. This is Kau'i Burgess. I just
Mhm.
want to state my support for the discussion that took place in the committee. Though I was not there, I trust what is written in this letter and the recommendations. And I just wanted to state that. Thank you all so much. That's it, Chair.
Thank you. Mahalo.
And I just wanted to flag, if we're saying that EOEL can absorb these costs in their existing budget, there's a potential flag there for legislators that, okay, well, what were those monies used for before, and were they not a priority, and how are we prioritizing funds? So I just want to make sure we have a strong case for use of funds within our lines when we go into session.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on tabling? Okay, hearing none. Stephanie?
Aye.
Okay. Joni?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Soma? Oh, she had to leave at
She had to
3:45.
leave, yeah, Suma had to.
Yeah. So, but we still have quorum. Cheryl?
Aye.
And Kawi?
Aye.
Okay, so we have tabled that until next meeting, and we'll have more information. Thank you for the questions and comments. Okay, let me go back to these. Okay, so this one is mainly an announcement that Dana is going to make. Oh, sorry. What am I doing?
Okay,
Dana.
I hope I'm gonna say this correctly, but so my understanding is that I need to ask if there is a motion to accept the subcommittee's recommendations for the vice chair selection process. Is that correct?
No, we did approve it at the
so
the last meeting. We're supposed to announce that, I think, the schedule for nominations and self-nominations would be, I think, in October.
Okay, I don't have that information.
You don't have that one, okay.
No, sorry.
Okay, well, you know what, we can defer that, and we can, yeah, it's okay. We will cover that at the next meeting. And I should put in the board materials, the policy, the process that was approved. So let me go on to the next item. Okay, so the status of, you know what, Dana, this is actually the second part of Matt's memo. So I'm sorry it's in the reverse order, but can we do this one first?
Yeah. Okay, so the subcommittee members discussed the following here, the following 4 recommendations, and we're presenting it for board approval. This is to consider a performance evaluation period that will provide the EOEL executive director with clear evaluation criteria and a 12-month evaluation period. So the first recommendation you can see here is that the annual evaluation period is July 1st to June 30th. Second recommendation is that the EOEL Executive Director will present a summary presentation of the previous year's performance activities to ELB at the June ELB meeting. The third recommendation is that the ELB will provide feedback on the EOEL Executive Director activities to the EOEL Chair by the July meeting. And then the fourth recommendation is that the performance evaluation criteria, which is selected from core performance metrics and items from board-approved EOEL Director Evaluation Leadership Standards and Indicators, that will be presented to the EOEL Director each August. So we are asking today for a motion to approve the 4 EOEL Executive Director Performance Evaluation Period recommendations that we presented today.
Thank you, Dana. The chair will entertain a motion to approve these recommendations in a second, and then we can have discussion.
This is Joni. I move to approve these recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Have a second?
This is
You have a
Stephanie.
second? Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
This is Stephanie. I have a question about the extent to which the committee considered some explicit language around incorporating public feedback in the process.
You did not. I don't remember.
I think Elaine, we have to look at the evaluation criteria. Rochelle is also on the committee, but I thought we did have something in there about public feedback.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
And then, sorry, this is Stephanie again. I actually think this might be a bigger concern. I'm looking on our website and I don't see any publicly posted information about notification to the public about our committee meetings, dates, times, location, or minutes. And I'm flagging it because I'm concerned that's a potential sunshine problem.
We have, yes, the subcommittees, the EOEL subcommittees do have a exception under sunshine rule. So I can send you that information. Matt got
just wanted to
clarification
make
on that.
sure.
Yeah, thank you. No, yeah, definitely. So yeah. Any other comments or questions?
Sorry, the question, Dana, was
Yeah, whether we included that as a criteria. I thought we had added something about getting feedback.
I know we did last year. There was a way to give feedback to the executive director. Oh, they gave feedback to the chair, I believe.
Chair, yeah.
To the chair, and then the chair.
Yeah.
So I think.
Okay,
yes,
I'll go back and.
2.3 is accurate. The board can give feedback to the chair about the director, but the chair is the one that gives the actual feedback.
Yeah.
I think the question was public feedback.
I think they
Was
give
it
it,
public?
don't they give it in testimony format?
What about, say it
During
again?
Did we give it in testimony? If it's an agenda item?
The feedback. I don't know how it was
Public
done
give-
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
so-
sense, Rochelle. Thank you. That makes sense.
Question was, yeah, how do you get public feedback on the executive director? And I think it comes in testimony.
Okay. Okay, so those are things that the governance committee can consider and take into account as this work moves forward. So are there any, so this one is really about the schedule. Are there any other questions or comments about the schedule of evaluation? Okay, hearing none. Let me ask for the vote. So I'm going from Stephanie.
Aye.
Joni.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
And Kawi.
Aye.
Okay, one more thing to vote on that we really need to approve. Let me go back to this. So Dana is going to explain the proposed travel policy.
Okay, so the governance subcommittee met on August 23rd. And these are our recommendations for board approval. So regarding the travel policy, so if the elected ELB chair or vice chair reside on a neighbor island, how often should they attend a monthly ELB meeting in person? So if either the elected chair or vice chair are from Kauai County, Maui County, or Hawaii County, whichever will preside at the monthly ELB meeting can request travel to Oahu to preside in person with the EOEL budget permitting. Our second recommendation is that the ELB will schedule one mandatory all-member in-person meeting for voting and non-voting members per calendar year with EOEL budget permitting. Our third recommendation is that neighbor island board members, so county and at large, may submit up to 11 in-person meeting travel requests per state fiscal year. And that's July 1st through June 30th with the EOEL budget permitting. And then our last recommendation is that there may be other meetings that require the chair or vice chair to attend in person. The chair or vice chair will inform the board of the meeting invitations, and the chair or vice chair will determine if travel is necessary or feasible to attend with EOEL budget permitting. And then EOEL will craft official policy documents for administrative, business, and financial purposes for any of the above travel recommendations that are approved by ELB. So is there a motion to approve the 4 early learning board travel policy recommendations as presented to the board today?
Yes, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the recommendation.
I'll move to accept the recommendation.
Okay.
Kauai Burgess.
Kauai, and second?
This is Stephanie. I'll second.
And any discussion? Question? Okay. I'm going to ask for the vote. I'll start with Kawi. Kawi,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Hey, mahalo. That passes. Okay, we are like 1 minute to 4 o'clock. And we have the votes done for the major work that we have to do. I will enter, okay, the remaining items are a proposed standing subcommittee, but I want to table that, but, and there is a clarification and update on Act 156 about the harm to registry, and that is in the agenda. So it's basically an update. There is a larger question, but we can cover that at another meeting. We will have an in-person retreat for board members, voting and non-voting, and it will be at Seed Center, and it'll be on the same day as our next board meeting. So we'll have a long day, and Dr. Terry Locke and I will facilitate. And this is a draft agenda for the retreat.
So,
thank you.
Elaine.
Yeah.
Elaine, this is Cody.
Yes.
Just for
Yes.
Public knowledge. I know
Yes.
it was written there, but just to announce that the public is invited, but there
Yes.
will be no Zoom access just due to the difficulties and having that in a large room, I believe. So
Correct.
just wanted to make sure that the public is aware and that that is
Yeah.
stated, though it's
Yeah.
written as well. Okay, mahalo.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. And this is a draft agenda. And actually, thank you. Yuko already kind of gave us the history of the Early Learning Board. But we'll go through the statute, some key concepts and structures, and introduce these things. So what I would like to do is to entertain, because it is agenda item, I'd like to entertain a motion to table this proposal for our standing subcommittee till October meeting, because we just are out of time.
I'll move to table the discussion on the legislative committee.
Mahalo. Do I have a second?
Lindsay, I'll second.
Okay, mahalo. Any questions or discussion on why we're going to table? Okay, I'm asking for the vote. Kawi,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie. Stephanie? Are you there?
I think looks like she has to jump off.
Oh, she had to jump off. Okay, I will vote. Aye. So we have that table. Let me just quickly go over what we did today, which was we did a lot of votes. So we amended the agenda, we voted on the minutes. And we supported the first legislative proposal. We tabled the second one about the Head Start Collaboration Director. We approved the budget items. We tabled the salary adjustment issue to the next meeting. We did approve the schedule for the ED evaluation. We approved the travel policy, and we tabled discussion about a legislative subcommittee. So we did a lot. And I will ask one time for any public comment on tabling or the clarification. Okay, if not, then our meeting is adjourned. Mahalo. I will see you on email and wherever. Okay. Aloha.
Aloha.
Mahalo, aloha.